Hello, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. I thought I'd take this opportunity to show you a screen recorder called Screencast-O-Matic. It's really pretty easy. You can just go to their website right here and you can just start recording right from the website, or you can download their launcher and you're able to record whatever is on your screen. So this might be helpful if you're thinking about how you're going to do your final what do you call it, final project or your presentation that you need to share online in our forum. So you would need to have a link or an embed code or something to do that. So this could be an option for you. So that said, our last week that we were online sharing in our discussion board was about formative assessment of ELLs, and that's an area I'm very interested in, and I really enjoyed reading about your ideas about portfolios, and also the focus on whether or not to collect student work to show progress or collecting student work to show their mastery of something, and the difference between those two things. One of the things that came up was about how do you actually evaluate student language and how do you know where they're going. One person mentioned the FLAIR project through WIDA, and so I thought I'd take a moment to show you some resources that I share at workshops when I talk about formative language assessment. So one of the first things is called the WIDA performance definitions, and you can see from this document that it talks about, here I'll blow it up a little bit, it talks about academic language features, that word phrase level, sentence level, and discourse level. And then it has, oops, there you go, the proficiency levels, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. WIDA breaks these into receptive language, so this is listening and reading, and productive language, this is speaking and writing. This is the chart that I use mostly, and when we're talking about formative language assessment and you're collecting student samples of speaking and writing, this would be the kind of criteria that you might use to evaluate where they are with their vocabulary usage, with sentence level and discourse level work in their writing or their speaking. So this chart shows what you might expect of level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and it also shows that they may have differences in their vocabulary. Their vocabulary could be at a level 4 if they're using a lot of specific and technical content area language. Their sentence level might be level 2 or level 3, kind of more repetitive grammatical structures, and their discourse level could be somewhere in between. So it sort of gives you a more detailed way of looking at what students' language levels are and areas for focus for feedback and continued instruction. One of my colleagues, oops, that's not the one I was looking for, sorry. One of my colleagues created an exemplar of what this might look like with real language. So I'll just take this top level 5 one. You can see here the content vocabulary was more advanced: to censor, counterproductive, censoring information, that sort of thing. These are the language forms and conventions allowed the federal government to censor. This included censoring information, so they have that. And then over here on the discourse level, you can see how those sentences and vocabulary words are sprinkled into the linguistic complexity of what the students are expected to produce. So I will share this document with you, so maybe it would be helpful for you to think about the students you're working with and what the language proficiency levels would be in any given task or content area that you're looking at, and what it would mean for vocabulary, sentence, or discourse level. That said, I created a document. Let me go back one. This one, which is kind of I call it the Linguistic Curriculum Evaluation Checklist, and basically I simplified it. So I did level 1, levels 2 and 3 together, levels 4 and 5. And the idea would be that you could take any task or content, fill in what you would expect a level 1 student to use with vocabulary, what kind of language form or sentence frame you would expect for level 1, what kind of linguistic complexity, which is basically like what would it sound like if they string this information together. So maybe it's 3 sentences or something like that. And the same thing for each of these. So you're determining what language you're expecting based on your content. And over here would be your content checklist. What do you expect them to be able to do with the content standards? So they're going to identify main details in a text or something, whatever. You can write that there, and then you can just check it off as you see the students are able to meet that criteria. So this is something else I created, and I'll share this with you as well on the Moodle. So those are some documents I thought you might find helpful. Just a reminder, we did our first assignment for that you submitted regarding the content and language objectives. Good feedback on that too, which is that they are difficult and time consuming. And I'm always looking for ways to make that more simple for teachers, and I'm sure that you'll continue to explore that as well. Just a reminder that in your assignments, you also need to have citations in there. It's part of the rubric. So go ahead and take a look at that if you're not sure. For your final presentations, I added the rubric here, Education 505 Assignments and Rubrics. Go to this main page and click on this to be able to see what the expectation is for the final presentation, and what you need to get in that presentation to meet the criteria for that. One other thing, wanted to point out a couple of resources. Margaret Heritage has a book out. This is something we're reading at WIDA. It's called Formative Assessment, Making It Happen in the Classroom. She's got some good ideas about process for formative assessment. She's also been working with Allison Bailey on this thing called Dynamic Language Learning Progressions. And I know some of you mentioned wanting to know what language you should expect from students at what level. And this is a project where they're trying to make it very specific and kind of determine that beyond grammatical foundations, and more about how do we use language to explain? How do we use language to discuss? What does it look like if we are progressing from level 1 to 5? So that's about all I have for this week. And I think our next topic on week 6, or it would be day 6, I guess, is literacy development for ELLs, and that is exciting. It's another area I really like, talking about emergent literacy practices for ELLs and how some things are kind of the same and some things are different. And I think it's just fascinating to look at how we develop our language and literacy skills together. So if you have any questions, contact me, but otherwise have a great week. Thanks.